Hey, this is Steven from Wild Stuff. Welcome to the show. In this video, I'll be demonstrating a trick I use to shoot time-lapses with cameras like the Canon EOS M50 or the Powershot G7X II, using actual long exposure images rather than the quite restrictive built-in time-lapse video mode. So there's quite a few different ways to create a time-lapse with modern digital cameras. By far the easiest and most convenient way is the camera's built-in time-lapse video mode. No extra remotes or equipment is necessary, just the camera and a tripod, and the camera will automatically process it into a video file for you so you can see the results instantly. While this usually works fine in daylight situations, the problem is that it's restricted completely to automatic exposure. You have zero control over shutter speed, aperture, or ISO. So if you're wanting to use it at night to shoot the stars or the Milky Way or city lights, the longest shutter speed you can get on a camera like the EOS M50 is 1/30th of a second, which is not long enough to include any real motion in the video or get a correct exposure. On top of that, the camera compensates by cranking the ISO up all the way, and the result is disgustingly noisy and dark footage. So the next option you might try is a dedicated intervalometer. Sounds great. However, there's one big problem. Neither the EOS M50 or the G7X II have anywhere to plug it in. I have had some success with an Android app called Tethermonkey. It does get the job done despite a few minor glitches. The main problem with this for me though is it ties my phone up completely to one camera, which is no use to me when I'm running multiple cameras, or if I want to actually use my phone or check my Facebook while the time-lapse is running. I'm also yet to find a completely reliable on-the-go adapter for my phone. The various models I've tried so far only need the slightest of bumps and the whole thing gets disconnected. And finding somewhere to place your phone when your tripod is near full extension is another drama, unless you have an extra long USB cable. So this is all quite frustrating, especially given the simple nature of the time lapses I like to shoot. I just want to lock the shutter down and have the camera fire repeated 2 or 3 second exposures with as little gap between them as possible. Much the same as if you could somehow stand there and hold your finger on the shutter button while the camera snapped away in continuous burst mode for half an hour at a time. So I realised that's exactly what I need to do. So I had a little rummage through my drawers and I came up with this. A short length of stretchy bungee cord, a little drawstring toggle, and a blob of blue tack. I think the rest of the world calls it adhesive putty. The result is a tiny little thingamabob that weighs practically nothing and tucks away in your camera bag until you need it. Or with the M50, I just leave one permanently looped through the shoulder strap. Firstly, you set the camera to continuous shooting mode with whatever exposure settings you like. Then with the G7X II here, you simply guide it through the back of the mirror and position the blue tack over the shutter button. Or with the M50, just loop it over the body of the camera. Once the blue tack is seated over the shutter button, carefully pull the cord tight through the toggle at the bottom and the camera will start firing. If you've wobbled the camera while tightening the cord, it's no big deal to just delete the first few shots from the sequence. I like to make a note of the time and work out how long I need to run it to get the number of shots I need, and then when I'm ready, I just release the toggle again. Just bear in mind this is not a magical fix-all solution. It's really only useful for shooting at night with longer exposures where the interval between images is the same as the exposure length. So for example, taking a 2-second long exposure every 2 seconds. I find it works great for showing stars moving across the sky, nighttime city lights, or the motion blur of car headlights moving around streets and country roads. What it won't let you do is run a time lapse where the shot interval is longer than the exposure length. So for example, if you want to take a 2-second exposure, then wait 8 seconds before taking another 2-second exposure, then this trick won't work for you. You're going to need to rely on the built-in time-lapse video mode or an app such as Tethermonkey. So when we're ready, we just release the cord. Now we have a memory card full of lovely high-resolution images in your choice of JPEG or RAW, ready to batch edit in Photoshop or Lightroom, or drop directly into your video editing software. So as long as you understand the limitations, it's a cheap and simple way for someone with an EOS M50 or a G7X II, or pretty much any other camera with a continuous shooting mode, to start dabbling in time-lapse photography. I'll leave you with a few samples of some of the time-lapses I've done with the M50 and the G7X II, without having to use the built-in time-lapse video mode. The full videos of each of these samples can be found on my channel. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more equipment discussions.